Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of Accountancy Sexy Change My Mind. I'm super excited about this one. I'm really excited. You are going to be tuning into a live getting to know you call
Yes.
with the one and only Karen Rabin from the Profitable Firm. So we are PF. And I'm sure if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, you know about her already. Am I right? So welcome to the show,
Indeed.
Karen.
There might be one or two out there. So for those of you who haven't met me, hello.
Beautiful. As I say, this is a live getting to know you. Although we did have a very quick chat off air, would you do me the honour of just explaining to people like who you are and what you've done in this sphere so far?
Yeah, thanks. So my name's Karen Rayburn. I am the owner of PF, which is a creative agency exclusively for accountants. I am a qualified accountant. I'm a CPA in the States. I moved to Scotland 22 years ago. So I'm a dual British American citizen. And I set up PF because I wanted to help accountants get marketing done. So there are so many people and companies, certainly even more so when I set up PF, who are like, this is what you need to do. By the way, you need to do this with branding. Don't forget to do this. And these poor accountants are going, I know, okay, but what do I do? Okay, now I have to go find a branding person. Now I have to go find a website person. Now, do I write the blogs? Do I get somebody to write the blogs? And of course, now people are going, do I get AI to do it? But all of those things, that's why we exist as a company, is to help accountants get marketing done. So we have all this like outsourced marketing. We are your marketing partner. But what it's naturally turned into is education and coaching. And here's how marketing works. If you want to go and do it yourself, by all means do it.
Yeah.
And then all of that has tied into my first book, which is coming out this year. So excited. It's called The Accountant Marketer. And we were chatting about how there were many titles suggested that were sort of floofy and clever. And I thought, I want the title to be as simple as possible. The answer is in the title. You're an accountant and you also have to be a marketer. That's not an option. It's not like you get to choose. If you're an accountant running an accounting business, you must be a marketer. You already are a marketer. Question is, how good of a one are you? Is it delivering what you want? And that,
Are you?
what's that?
And how consistent are you with it?
Yes. Oh my goodness. We can talk about consistency and rhythms and systems. I believe the right way is the long way.
Yeah.
So all of that is like a summary of, over almost 20 years of working with accountants, serving accountants, and saying, here are the principles that you must know. We can help you. You can do it yourself, but there they are. And I just want to help as many accountants as I can.
Yeah. So when does the book come out?
October is the
October.
plan. So we are there's many times it has changed, but right now we are locked in October. We've got a book launch in London, and we've got pre-orders on right now, which is really exciting, and lots of bonus things like workshops on this concept of marketing rhythms and getting that consistency. So yeah, I'm excited about
I think you and I are going to get on.
rhythms.
Yeah.
Rhythms.
I can already tell. I think the rhythm of marketing is something that is completely misunderstood. I was speaking to somebody just a moment ago, explaining the Captain's Collective, which is my version of what you're doing, I guess. And I said, well, it's not about forcing people. It's about understanding the ebb and flow.
Yeah.
So most marketing gurus, inverted commas gurus, they tell you how to do something.
Yes.
The principles never change.
Mm-hmm.
Like the principles of marketing never change.
Yep,
find out who your audience is, understand why they want to buy from you, and talk about it in places where they are. It's simple. But what does change is everything else around you.
Yeah.
Like your attention span, your resources, your money, like your cat just died.
Yeah, those things are very real. Like there's a section in my book where I was talking about writing and, just literally putting hands to the keyboard or pen to paper and recognizing in marketing, whether it's writing or some other kind of marketing, if you have personal stuff going on, that will affect your business, that will affect your marketing in a big way. So if you have a business problem, you have a marketing problem. If you have a marketing problem, you have a business problem. And often the personal side, we just forget to account for it. Like I broke my ankle last December. I had a couple months where I wasn't much good for very many things. I was still working. I was doing the best that I could, But now when I see where I am today, I'm like, just night and day. But
Yeah.
when you recognize that, then you give yourself some grace and be like, listen, this is just where I am right now. I'm not going to beat myself up. And I have this theory about marketing being like a steam engine, because if you're going to build up steam, literally, it's not going to go from cold to 126 miles an hour, which turns out that's the top speeds of a steam engine, in
Thanks for the
seconds. It's just
knowledge.
not going to happen. I looked it up because I wanted to know. But it's not going to happen. And accountants often expect that with marketing. They're like, right, okay, so I put a little coal in and let's go top speeds tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, they get to top speeds and go, now I can just cruise, and they don't put any fuel in and it just cruises to a stop. Yeah.
Or they think, if I put fuel in, I'm going to get to top speed tomorrow and I won't be able to take the business on, and that scares me so much, so I am not going to take any action whatsoever.
That is one of the biggest questions we get. What if it works too well? What if I do all the things that you suggest and I get all of these clients tomorrow and I can't handle it? And my answer is always, listen, the chances of that, slim to none. Like, it does, you're not going to go viral with your TikTok video. I'm reasonably sure. If you do, great. Let me know how it went. But like, even in social media, we get accountants who are like, what if I post this reel and this and this and this happens? And I'm like, listen, there's going to be 4 people watching your reel. You, your mother or your partner, your best friend, and maybe one of the team if you have a team. That's it. So you don't have to worry. Like, just try stuff while you have this small audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I say the same thing. It's going to be you and your mum, and my mum's my biggest supporter, has been forever.
Which is great. But your mom is probably, I'm guessing, not one of your target audience. Your ideal client.
She's not, and she's not really connected to them either. Like, no, she's got minimal brand value for me, but I appreciate every interaction.
Of course, exactly. I always tell people there are people in my life who still think that I work as an accountant, like as a CPA in the States, and I'm like, or do taxes. I'm like, I have never once in my life. I mean, I've worked for an accountancy firm as an auditor. I helped them with their business development and marketing. I worked as an auditor for 4 years, but I'm like, that was literally 25 years ago. I run a creative agency, and there's people like, yeah, it's Karen. She's an accountant. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's not as if I'm
off.
Yeah. But that's okay. They're not my target audience.
That I'm an accountant stops people talking about it, right? That's the whole TikTok. Like,
yes. Yeah. Well, and that whole concept, I strongly believe accountants are creative. And spoiler alert, that's the second book that's coming, is Accountants, You Are Creative Too.
Yeah.
We're not talking about creativity with the numbers. So always have to put that postscript in there. Not talking about illegalities. We're talking about the creativity that is innate in humans. But accountants get that literally like churned out of their brains because they tell themselves, or other people tell them, that's boring. You're not creative. You're not a designer. And then they own that. And they're like, I am not creative. I am boring.
I just want to flip that on its head, because I think there's a real valuable lesson there, because business owners, especially ones with ADHD or something going on, get told they are creative. They are not numbers people. They are creative. They are not numbers people. And it's a story that I've been told forever.
I feel like you've just blown my mind there. I think you're the first person who has ever flipped that round to say the business owner has that same problem, but from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so accurate too, because actually there was a business owner I was talking to who said, I have this big cash problem. Like, he's in the UK and he had a VAT bill of 30 grand that was due in 7 days, and he didn't know how he's going to pay it. And he came to me to say, what marketing do I need to do? And I'm like, okay, can we just park that? What the hell is going on with your accountant? Why did they not tell you? How are you not aware of this? And he's like, oh, I think it's my fault. I'm supposed to know these things. And I said, listen, I love that you're trying to take responsibility for your numbers. Yeah. Correct decision.
Yeah.
But you need to have an accountant where this is not a surprise. And there are accountants out there who will help you. So I think business owners either say, I don't need to do numbers. That's not my job. Or they beat themselves up and go, oh man, I am supposed to know my numbers. It doesn't make any sense. and they're
Yeah.
not motivated by them.
Yeah, and it's such like I'm a true believer in everybody has different strengths, and if we all just come together and work together, then
Yes.
everything could be hunky dory and
Yes.
rosy. It doesn't necessarily transpire that way in reality. There is always clunkiness to it,
Yeah.
but in theory, it works. You know,
Yeah.
so I position myself with people who are experts in things that I am not an expert
Yes.
in. So I love
Absolutely.
marketing strategy, like yourself. I can dabble in websites.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it, and
Mhm.
I might not do it very well, but I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, if something breaks, I can't fix it, but I
Yes.
can get the page up.
But
So
this is the beautiful thing. Like, I always encourage accountants to, try things. If you want to throw together your own website yourself, by all means. I
yeah,
still think it's helpful to understand the elements of marketing. And like you
yeah,
said, start with your audience, move to what their issues are, all of that. But give it a try. And when you get to the point that it's not
yeah,
worth your time, or you
yeah,
don't enjoy it, or there's a bigger game going on, there's a bigger risk to you getting it wrong, that's
yeah,
the time that you invest the big money with the people who know what they're doing. Because if you
100%.
think it's expensive hiring an expert, try hiring an amateur.
Yeah, I love that expression. It rings true in almost every industry ever.
Yes.
Um, and with accountants get their fingers burned. I find they are a target for marketing
Yes.
companies. Now, you and I
Yes.
specialize in accountants. That's like this is our life.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. That's all we do. But there are companies out there,
Yeah.
SEO companies, content companies, social media
Yeah.
companies that think, oh, there'll be a good buck.
Yep.
And quite often they get
Monetizing accountants. Yeah.
yeah, and quite often they get their fingers burned because they just go after single tactics and don't look at
Yes.
marketing strategy.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because we have so many accountants that come to us and say, listen, Karen, this all looks great. PF looks great. I like your marketing map. I like your structure. Your book seems good. You seem to know what you're talking about, but I'm nervous. I'm worried. I'm scared. I spent 10,000, 50,000,
Yeah,
100,000 and felt like I may as well have flushed it down the toilet.
yeah,
Maybe they, almost literally did. They just spent and spent and spent. And I agree with you that many times, not every time, but many times, it's the philosophy of one-to-one return on investment. I spend this within a pretty short amount of time, maybe a month at the most, I get double that back.
mm,
And that is not how the best marketing works. And actually, as with anything in life, if you take the shortcut and you try to get the quick win fast, you might either get the quick win and
mm,
then it collapses, or you won't get the quick win at all, or you'll get the win and discover later it wasn't a win, it was a loss. You got 5 new clients and 4 of them were a disaster and made your life miserable and your team's life miserable, and you wish you'd never taken them. So it's that false connection of saying, I got 20 leads. And you're going, how many of them are amazing? Like the kind of clients you wish you wanted more of? Well, maybe one. Well, why not just get one really good lead? Like
yeah.
that, it's that,
Why not
that
forget
balance
about the other ones and just focus your attention on trying to get more of that?
of those people.
Like it's the law of attraction, isn't it? If you focus on trying to get more of
Yes.
that one client, you might get outliers. No,
Yeah.
you will 100% get outliers.
Yes. Well,
But,
that's another worry that accountants have. They're like, okay, say I go super specific. You're telling me I have to be
yeah,
really specific with my audience. Maybe not necessarily an industry niche. Use that if you have it, but like very specific. These are the people we work with and don't. And they're like, what if? What if the most amazing client ever who's not in that category comes? And I'm like, one of two things will happen. Either they're not as amazing as you think they are, so
yeah.
they need to not come, or they will just try. They will just go, listen, I know you say you work with dentists, but I really like your vibe and I like your style and I like your approach. Would you work with me? And then you have a choice. You can say yes or
I,
no.
niching, huge fear buzzword,
Yeah.
and something that, whilst I agree with it, I say there are natural niches.
Yeah.
So if you have an affiliation, like or experience or a
Yes.
love or passion for a
Yes.
certain particular company, type of industry, go for it.
Yeah.
Throw yourself into it. You might have a forced niche. So you spotted an opportunity. No one is there. No one's talking, like serving that community. Go for it.
Yeah.
Like capitalize on it.
Yeah, try.
Or don't niche, but segment your audience.
Yes.
Like,
Just like
all
be
the big companies
specific.
do it.
That's all I say at the end of the day. I'm like, you do not, like, a lot of accountants feel this obligation, like, okay, I'm hearing that I need to niche. And I'm like, you have to be specific. That's
Yeah.
what I mean by a niche. It doesn't have to be an industry. It could be, I mean, one of the firms we're working with, it's people who are, they have families and they have businesses. However they define family, whether they have kids or whoever their family looks like, their big qualifier point issue is that when they're with the family, they feel guilty they're not working on the business. And when they're working on the business, they feel guilty they're not with the family. That is the kicker. That's their ideology.
And then in their content and in their marketing, that kind of business says, "Oh, that's me."
That's what you're supposed to say.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
the magic.
That's what a niche is. The buyer comes, the potential buyer, and they're like, oh, that's me. So I often tell people, like, if your website says we work with small to medium sized business owners who want growth and profit, nobody's going to be like, what? How did you know me? Everyone's going to be like, yeah, okay.
I feel so seen right now.
You connect with me. We are the, they're just like, whatever. It's all the same things. And, side note into AI, because of course we have to talk about that now. I've seen a lot of people using that to, generate content, and a lot of the generic content that is generated is stuff like that. And they're like, haha, I have words. I'm like, but are you reaching anyone? Is there any emotion in there?
Yeah, but that's because it's scraping the internet for this information, and that is that's the available information. It's what you need to focus on is what's in your core.
What do you have to say?
Yeah, what do you have to say? Why do people want to work with you? Not why do people want to work with 100 companies that they just scrape their data from?
Yeah.
Work the content from.
Yeah, like the point is not to be like everyone else. And there's nothing wrong with gathering that and getting ideas. There's loads of things you can do with it. But at the end of the day, like sharing something, a story or something you said to a client the other day is going to have so much impact. Like I just did a LinkedIn post. I started swimming couple days a week for the last literally less than 2 weeks. This is the level that I'm at. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm an Olympic swimmer now. Like this is my total vibe. That's what I got the goggles, got the swim cap, I got all this stuff. But like that is a very real thing in my life. So my LinkedIn post today was like, oh, now I have little hooks in my shower to hang the swim goggles, because every day I'm coming back and going, oh, this is awkward. So I'm adding systems and rhythms to something I've only been doing for a couple weeks, because that's what I naturally do. And then the transition then is, this is what we do with marketing. That idea wasn't like, oh, let me ask ChatGPT what it thinks about swimming and marketing. It was a connection that I made myself, or conversations that I've had with human people. So
it's basically narrating life.
Yes.
Like LinkedIn content for me, I think people understand this, is just narrating my life. This is what's going on at the moment. These are the conversations I'm having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very human, which is what people want.
You don't have to overthink it. You don't have to think about the business lesson in everything.
Whenever I do that, I'm like, this is the best LinkedIn post known to humanity. And like 3 people like it. And then I still remember to this day the one that I was like, guys, I'm thinking of getting a new Hoover. And here's the situation. Oh my goodness. It's probably my most popular LinkedIn post of all time. People had strong feelings about Hoover. They were like, not this one. I will die on this hill. And the other person's like, I would never buy that Hoover in my life.
Obviously, they told you to buy a Shark. Like, there is no
Shark
other
and Dyson. Those were the 2 that I got. There was like a whole bunch of outliers, but those are the 2 that I ended up with.
Shark and Dyson, get Shark.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I was like, it took me like 4 minutes to throw that together, because me and my friend Jen were talking about her Dyson and how much she loved it. And she also heard the Shark was great. And I was like, well, if I'm going to spend this much money on a Hoover, and of course there is the marketing lesson, because that's the way my brain goes, of, are you going to invest in the marketing Shark, or are you going to just get the little one that costs you 90 quid at Argos and then be like, oh, it doesn't actually work the way I want it to. And then you have to buy 4 Hoovers over the space of 5 years that end up costing the same as the Shark.
Yeah, it's a big decision. And I'm not surprised you put it out there for people to talk about.
Yeah, I did buy the Dyson, I'm not going to lie, because that's what my friend Jen had. And I could see what hers looked like. And
Social proof right there.
Telling you. And
someone like me bought something like I want and it worked out well. Social proof.
It's a personal recommendation. It still works. I knew that either one would be fine, but I had equal, recommends. And at the end of the day, I know I'm going to do better with one of those than with the, crappy little one that I had that just was not working. I wasn't hoovering my house because it was a really crappy Hoover.
So my best performing post, I have 2. I had one about my wedding, which should be successful because I got married at the top of a fucking mountain.
Yes, well done. Oh, I got married
at the top of the mountain. I am so bad for swearing.
Well, I
got married at the top of the mountain, never snowboarding. If that doesn't do well, then I don't know what does. But my other best performing post was about crumpets.
Right? Total crumpets. Everyone has strong feelings about crumpets or tea or coffee or tacos or whatever. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So that leads me to, if one of your best performing posts is about Hoovers, one of my best performing posts is about crumpets, is that valuable content to post about? Because there is a debate that's not going to attract your ideal client. Now, I've got my view on it. Yeah. But what's your perspective?
Yeah, my view is that part of marketing is connecting you with the right kind of humans. So yes, you want to work with the right kind of businesses and it's a good match in the, size of the business and are you best placed to help them? But the human side says, do I vibe with this person? Do we talk the same language? When we talk about our numbers, are we also going to be able to talk about crumpets in a way that makes my life just that tiny bit better? So maybe the high performing LinkedIn post on crumpets or Hoovers doesn't get you business in the oh my gosh, Kelly, I saw your post on crumpets. We have to work together on marketing. That jump doesn't necessarily happen. But what I am convinced happen is that somebody sees the crumpets post or the Hoover post and they just file it away. They're just like, okay, that was funny. That was interesting. They asked for advice. I liked the way they expressed. They really do. And they subconsciously just file it away. And then at some point, they're sitting listening to this podcast and like, do you know what? I've been meaning to message Karen to see if PF could help me with this thing. I think I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah.
And the Hoover post is in there. And if you haven't read the Hoover post, now you're going to go read it. Now I'm going
to go and search your content for it.
Yeah. Sure. But it comes back to, marketing has to be human because we're, people do business with people and we're still connecting with humans. So it's that balance, from time to time, you share the lesson or the link, I'm running a masterclass. Here's the link. Come and join us. And sometimes you just say, I went swimming today and it was a new thing and I feel really proud of myself. End of story.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be this grand post, well thought through all of the time. It's conversational. Yes. I think the only thing that I would add to that is it depends on who's in your audience.
Yes.
So if you are actively building your audience and attracting people who are fitting your ideal client profile and they see your Hoover posts do well and they join in the conversation and all of a sudden you've got a connection with them, then that's much better. That Hoover post isn't going to do well if you don't have an audience to begin with.
Yes.
No one cares unless you make them care.
Yeah, we're back to the, is your post going to the 4 people? But then we're also back to consistency because I post on LinkedIn at least once a week, usually twice. And I've been actively making an effort to post more because my audience is accountants and that's where accountants hang out. That is the top one. LinkedIn and Instagram are the 2. Yeah. So I personally like Instagram better because I'm more of a visual person, but I use LinkedIn because it's the one where people make that connection.
Yeah. But I'm the opposite to you, oddly. I prefer LinkedIn. That's where my brain is better. That's how I interact better. Instagram is a secondary channel.
Yeah. But then you've also got Threads now.
Oh, I hope it stays alive. I
I
really
know,
do.
I do too, because I was getting really disillusioned with Twitter. So I was like, yay, Threads, I love Instagram. So, but it's another social platform. And like you said, you only have so much time to spend
Yeah,
on this. And one thing I've noticed with accountants is when they're on LinkedIn, a lot of times they're sharing stuff that other accountants are commenting on. And they
yeah,
feel really good about themselves. They're like, I got all these views and I got 14 comments. That's not
yeah.
your ideal
This
audience.
is my point. Like, this is my point. The Hoover post, when you've got a community of just accountants, is going to make you feel nice and warm and fuzzy. But a Hoover post, when you've got a community of business
Yeah,
owners who you are
that's
engaging
it.
with, totally different
It is
ballgame.
totally different. Like in my case, most of the people commenting who are accountants, good for me. That works perfectly.
Yeah,
But as you
totally.
say, if the accountant, whatever is happening in your life today, all of you who are listening, you're like, oh, I went swimming. I went for a walk. I tried to play basketball after, years of not playing and
Yeah,
injured myself or whatever. Like if everybody who's responding is like you, that may not be your ideal audience. And so you need to get that. And that's hard. That takes time. It does.
yeah. It does take time and it takes perseverance. It takes. There is a mindset of build it and they will come.
Mm,
Like, you know, I've seen people put out almost identical content to
yeah.
people who have actively built
Yeah.
networks,
Yeah.
and they have the same content, and this just flops
Yeah.
and this goes through the roof.
Yeah.
Same message, same
Mm,
style, but there is one vast difference
yeah.
that you've actively done it.
Yeah. And the genuineness. I think people are very switched on, again, usually subconsciously, as to whether this is a genuine post or not. So back
Yeah,
to your point about accountants being an audience that many people try to monetize, and the accountants can feel it. There's a big difference when somebody's like, hey, we have this new software for accountants and we think it's super great and we think you're going to use it and we want to charge this monies. And oh, yeah, by the way, we totally guarantee you're going to get all these leads. Like I was
yeah,
talking to somebody recently who is working on a new software and they asked for my opinion. And I'm like, okay, here we go. I have opinions. And because I said, you have to come in wanting to help accountants with a specific problem that they
yeah,
themselves have identified. If
yeah,
you haven't done that, you're just monetizing them and it will fail
yeah,
because you'll like literally this particular one was like, oh, this is like a non-salesy way to do this. And I'm like, is it though? Because it feels kind of salesy. So that whole approach also applies to accountants trying to reach business owners. If your LinkedIn post or your email or your website page is to get leads and to make money, your potential buyer will feel that and go, eh. But if you're like, listen, I just want to help creative agency owners who have gone from 1 to 10 employees in the past year and are struggling with this and this, and they're like, oh, like you said, that's me. That is my problem. Maybe they can help. We just got a frozen screen here. I'm not sure if you do as well.
right. I can hear you again now,
Okay, you completely froze from my
as did
perspective.
you.
Oh,
So
here we are.
I'll just snip it together. As I say, I don't do editing unless I have
Yeah,
to, but
might
I
cut
have
that
to.
bit out where we just stare at each other.
Right. Let's do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what were you saying?
So we were saying about like reaching the people that you most want to reach, not in a monetized way or to make money, but because you genuinely want to help them.
Yeah.
So if you want to help a creative agency owner who was a solopreneur and now has team members and has all the challenges that go along with that, and it happened fast, you write about that, and that person will go, oh, that is me. That is my
That's me.
problem. Maybe they can help me.
Yeah. So on the flip side of that, let's just play devil's advocate. Sometimes I find that accountants not necessarily salesy enough. They
Mm.
shy away from saying, we have something that
Yes.
can help you,
Yes.
because they get fed a lot of, or they get fed education from marketing people, again, to say provide value, value, value,
Yes.
value, 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 value. But they forget to actually say, we can help you with that when they need to.
Click the button, fill
Yeah.
in the discovery
Like,
form, book the call. Yeah, being
yeah.
very specific. I agree with you. And honestly, you'll hold my hand up and say, we've done this at PF. I've worked so hard to make sure that accountants don't feel that we're being salesy or pushy, that sometimes we're a little like, well, whenever you're ready, we're here. And there is a time to be like, do you want to have the call? Now that we've had the call, do you want to start today? And myself and the team were talking about just that question. Would you like to sign the quote now? And then just wait. They might say yes. I'd say probably 50% of the time, people are like, actually, yeah, I have all my questions answered. And previously to that, a couple of years ago, I would have said, well, I'll send you the quote. And you just think, because I was presuming,
Take it in your own
no
time.
rush, I don't want to pressure you. And now we're like, it's just an honest question. And
Yeah.
if the answer is no, and usually people very politely, especially in Britain, are like, well, and they don't say no point blank. They say, I'd like a little time. I want to check this. I want to talk to my business partner. And I always say, that's totally fine. I just want to check that you have had all your questions answered. Is there anything that's outstanding to you that you need to know that you're missing that I could help with?
This is sales on a service level.
Yeah.
Like, selling is about understanding there's an opportunity and providing value, but on both sides.
Yes.
And then helping them, holding their hand through a process, so they feel secure.
Yes.
It's not about forcing them.
That's it. That is the point. I had a call with a prospect, an accountancy firm in the States, and we had the initial call. And then I said, well, what we like to do next is we have a questions call. So I send you the quote, and then we jump on this call, and any question that has come up since then, we answer. And we had the questions call, and they had more questions. And they said, well, we need another call. Do we need to pay you for that? And I said, well, you're in the sales process. I will have as many calls as you need to have until all your questions are answered, whether the answer is yes or no. Now, granted, if we have to have 7 calls, I think that's an opportunity for me and PF to work more at the information we give so that we can.
Yeah, I was going to say there's content that can come out of that.
Always. But it's an opportunity. And I think they were surprised to be like, oh, you're going to have as many calls as needed to make sure that every question I have is answered? This is mind-blowing.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it's as I say, it's just a nice service.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I don't know your experience, I would imagine it's very similar. Like, you can have an accountant say they're interested in working with you. They raise your hand. They've stalked you for months before.
Yeah. Oh, always.
Then they say, I'm interested. And then you have a call, but they're never ready. Like, as in never, generalization, but they're not ready. They want to get their ducks in a row. They want something to happen. They want this. And sometimes, quite a few times, it's taken about 6 months for that process to happen until they go.
Yeah, that's interesting. Ours is a little different. Ours is that people stalk us for 18 to 24 months, and when they come, they're ready. Because we have 10 years of content. We have blog posts, we have articles, we have tutorials, we have the marketing map, we have a video on every page of the site, we have the whole team, we have FAQs pages. And when somebody comes, I often find that they're like, right, I've absorbed all this for literal years. Now I am ready. Now, sometimes they say they're ready and they're not. That does happen, which is totally fine. I'm like, if you think you are and you're not, no worries. And there's always that space for permission. And as you said, it's service-based. So the same applies to accountants doing sales calls. Let's just answer your questions. And if we can write FAQs and blog posts and videos that will answer more of your questions faster, the better for both of us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the things that I do in my sales process is set the next call up.
Yes, always.
So it's okay if you don't make your mind up today. If you do, great. If you don't, fine. Set the next call up, have a date in the diary. And when you get to it, again, push it back if you need to, but there is always another date.
Yeah.
Until you say
yes or no. It's a win if you say yes or no. And I think a lot of times when we're looking at sales, it's tempting to seek for the yes, but I actually just want the yes or the no. That's all I want to get to. If the answer is no, as long as I have given enough information and I feel like I've answered every question, it's their choice. They might just not like us as people, which is okay. It's totally acceptable. But as long as all the information is there, and also I'm sure you find this, that when I say, okay, so the next step is for this questions call, if you've had all your questions answered and you sign the proposal, we'll just delete the call and we've saved each other an hour of time. If they say no at that point, that says either I have more objections or I'm not ready. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's okay. That's also okay.
Both are fine.
Yes. You do not have to apologize for not being ready. But if you're not ready because you're not sure if you believe what I'm saying or who you'll be working with on the team or how the payment scheme is working.
Yeah, if there are questions about us,
yes,
then that's not okay. But if you're not ready for whatever's going on in your world, that's totally fine.
Yes. And it has to be totally fine. It has to be, whatever you have going on. We do this, all of us as service providers do this with potential clients. We have a call, it goes super great. We have a second call, and then nothing. You hear nothing for 3 weeks, 6 weeks. You send a few emails, make a phone call, and then you go, well, they must not be interested. And I'm sure you have as well learned the hard way. That is usually either not the case or it's not relevant. Whatever's going on in their life is going on in their life. And if we worry so much, and accountants do this as well, if you worry so much about bothering people, like, you're an accountant, that's your job, is to maybe not bother people, but to chase them up, tell them a penalty is coming if they don't fill it in. You're supposed to do that. So if all you do is follow up one time, not giving them the best accountant experience.
Exactly. I've always said this. It gives people an insight into how you work and what the experience is going to be like. Holding their hand through their sales process shows them what the onboarding is going to be like. Going through the onboarding process shows them what the service is going to be like. Like, holding their hand every step of their way is like, and including the sales process, including marketing, that demonstrates what you're capable of.
Yeah. And on the flip side, the concept that the experience you have with a potential client is the best it's ever going to be in the prospect process. So if they are questioning or negative or nitpicking or asking for discounts or not showing up to meetings on time, it's not going to get better. It's any relationship. Like, we were dating and they showed up to everything late and missed one, but I'm sure it won't be. It will not. It will not get better. Like, this is the best. Same thing with hiring, the whole hiring process. You are getting the absolute best. And if there's even a little moment of like, that is going to show up once you hire them.
Listen to your intuition. It's there for a reason.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to draw this to a close, and that pains me, Karen, because honestly, it's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Yes, you too. But it's good. It's good to leave on on the positive point. We haven't exhausted it all. There's more to say.
There is so much more to say, but I do have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to love your opinion on this. What is the sexiest thing about accountants?
Oh, gosh. I feel it's kind of a tough one because I feel like my answer is, you might not call that sexy, but I'm going to go for it, is the sheer loyalty and care for human people. Like, there's just this family orientated thing that I think people don't think of as sexy. And they're like, oh, that's just normal. It's not normal. There's a bunch of jackasses out there and horrible people who don't treat people well. Accountants, I suppose anything sexy in my mind is something that connects you and be like, whoa, that is amazing. I think that is amazing about accountants, that they care so deeply about human people that is their priority, above money and above making the sale and above ticking boxes and things. As much as they all love that, they really want to help human people. And that is very attractive and that is very appealing. And accountants, you diminish yourselves when you say, oh, well, that's just, doesn't everybody do that? No, there's a lot of people out there that don't care about people. They just want to make business, make money, get stuff done, work with people they don't like. Those of you that don't do that, that are like, wow, I know my clients, I'll have a beer with them or a coffee with them or go on holiday with them.
Impact the world in some way.
Yes, do that. That is super attractive.
I knew I'd like your answer. I'm going to stop it there. I will link to wearepf.com.
Yes.
I think that's the right, isn't it?
That is the one.
Yep. And I will share the information about your book launch, which is coming out in October.
Yes, it is. And I can give you the link for pre-ordering the book. That's on my personal website, KarenLRayburn.com. You go there and you can pre-order that. Loads of extra bonuses and marketing rhythms and all of that good stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the language you use. So I really hope that everyone got value out of this
Yeah.
today. It's not another thing about the accounting community, just as a final word, is how collaborative people
Yes.
are. And Karen and I do very similar things in different ways because it's both our style. So I just want to say thank you for coming on and giving me the time and the opportunity, because I love just spreading the word.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure. I love anyone who also loves helping accountants. Anyone who helps accountants, good in my book.
Yeah.
Thank you.